Hello, YouTube, and welcome back to day 15 of Psychology Every Day. Today, I've got a real banger for you as we're going to talk about one of the biggest ideas and studies in psychological history. Um, I'm still working on my paper for the work in organizational psychology, and I got to use this idea in the paper, which is, of course, why I get to talk about it today. I said I was going to do this week about the paper, and in the end, I'm going to connect it to work in organizational psychology. But I wanted to talk about this idea um, to, greater depth. This is a book called 40 Studies That Changed Psychology. I actually have two different editions. One is from 20 years ago, and one is from this year. I like it so much that I got two copies. I actually got gifted both of them by my friend, and they're also great when you do papers and stuff because you can reference a lot of stuff with one book, right? And I think, according to my opinion, the biggest study, the biggest find of the 20th century in psychology, which is, basically the entire history of psychology, is cognitive dissonance. And even though, I think about Freud and I think about Jung and I think about my personal favorite of Julian Rotter's locus of control, which I talked about in a different video, I think that objectively, subjectively, uh, cognitive dissonance is the biggest one. And what cognitive dissonance is, it's not a new idea. David Hume, the philosopher, said that, he said this a long time ago, like 200 years ago or whatever, 300. Your thoughts and your rationality is and should be based on your feelings. Uh, so basically, that you adapt your thought patterns, your ideas, and your opinions based on how you feel about things. And this is goes into a whole long other discussion about morality and what that is, and if objective morality exists and whatever. But this is a very fascinating idea because it sort of goes against a different, kind of thought school where you claim that you can sort of, sorry, mixing in some Swedish there, you can sort of control yourself with your mind. The Stoics and the Greeks are like very rational and, believe in control over yourself. And this is a very fascinating idea. To connect it to, cognitive dissonance, this is more about action and attitude. But first, let me give you an example of Hume's idea. And it's a very prevalent thing in relationships, that you adapt your mind after your feelings. If you fall in love with someone, facts don't matter at all. A great YouTuber once said, facts don't care about your feelings. Well, the opposite is also true. Feelings don't care about your facts. And if you fall in love with someone, you ignore the red flags and the things that annoy you, you ignore, and you build them up in your mind and you try to present them to yourself and your friends and your family as someone that is very good, because you like them and you want to like them, and you want them to be good. And so you sort of start to build perhaps a false image of this person. And the same is true when you break up with them, because breaking up is painful, but it's less painful if that person is an awful piece of shit and, well, they're useless in every way. And this is something that you see all the time. Everyone you talk to, all of their exes are toxic or sociopaths or psychopaths. And, that's a statistical it's not possible, right? That it's always like that. And that is partly, a defense mechanism to save you from pain, which is a very major one, and that can be connected to cognitive dissonance. But also, it's much easier, right? It takes two to tango, they say, takes two to dance, and it's extremely rare that a relationship falls apart simply because of one person, because that person was a part of that relationship to begin with. And it's more of like a venture or a project that didn't pan out because of the dynamic interaction between these two people. It didn't work out in the end. But that means that you have to take some responsibility yourself, and people don't like that. It's not fun to, admit that the relationship fell apart partly or completely because of you. So they just push off that to the other person because they then feel good about themselves. They feel good, and that means that they're going to change their mind accordingly to feel good in two different ways. Cognitive dissonance is a study done during the 50s by Leon Festinger, and they showed that actions will change your attitude, or can change rather, and that actions and attitudes or your mind interact, and when they don't match, you feel bad. Which means that doing stuff that you don't agree with, or as in cognitive dissonance, the study example, saying things that you don't agree with, doesn't feel good, and it doesn't feel good in a sort of discreet way that you might not even notice, right? So over time, in this example, very quickly, you change your attitude about what you're saying to match this thing. And this is just super fascinating because what that means is that sort of, fake it until you make it, or fake it until you become it, is very much true. And what they were told to do was do like a boring experiment where, it doesn't matter what it was super boring. It took 30 minutes. And then those that explained to the following experiment subjects that it was quite fun, quite interesting, they then changed their mind and didn't rate it as boring. There's a whole more there's more to it where it changed depending on if they got money and whatever, but the point is that it's changed. And that means that to feel good, your thoughts or your attitude and your actions has to align. And so far so good, right? But that also means that speech, what you say and what you don't say, is going to change you. So, you can talk a lot about the, free speech debate and forced speech and whatever, but this can also be seen in clinical psychology, where one of the best clinical psychologists of all time, who has had a huge impact on the field, Carl Rogers, who basically invented active listening. One of his main ideas was that congruence, or congruence, I don't know how you say it, is central to mental well-being. And what he meant by that was that your feelings, your thoughts, and your actions has to align for you to feel well. And they have to be honest. So the most honest one has to guide the other ones and not the other way around. And that sort of binds together both cognitive dissonance, which is thoughts and actions, and Hume's idea of feelings and thoughts, right? Then you have this triangle of thoughts, feelings, and actions. And they all affect each other. So if you do something, it's going to affect how you think and how you feel. If you feel something, it's going to affect how you think and how you act. But the third one is also true, which is, the old Stoic idea and what seems to most people like common sense, that what you think is going to affect how you feel and how you act. And this, to me, is super interesting and super relevant, and it's a part of a longer lecture that I'm doing. This is part 1 of that lecture on YouTube, I guess, which entails what drives people and what is the point of life and what are we after and what are our needs. And this alignment within you and outside of you is something that is extremely important and something that comes up from time to time during psychological history. And that can, of course, be connected to work in organizational psychology in the paper that I'm doing now, which is about work culture. Now, there's a lot of other theories that go into that, but in a toxic work culture or a bad one, you're going to start to conform to the people that work there, especially if you're new. And so if they are whining a lot or if they are slacking a lot, loafing, right, you're going to start to do that as well. And then it's going to affect you negatively. And when you become negative about the company or the workplace, that's going to affect your thoughts and your actions. And there's going to be a negative spiral. And the other thing is the other side of the coin with the positive work culture is true as well, where if you come into a positive work culture, it's going to, infect you, hopefully. It's been found that negativity spreads easier than positivity, sadly, but also that you do actually have a chance to affect other people. And if you just do it well enough and consistently enough and never let negativity bring you down, you can change your environment and others people's thoughts and feelings. Because if you fall to this conformity of negativity, your attitude and happiness within that workplace is doomed pretty much. So do your best to do your best. Try to stay positive. Try to get others to be positive. Communicate that you like positivity, that you want to work hard. Because if you do, it's going to affect the inside of you. So if you can get yourself to work hard, it's going to affect your thoughts and your feelings. You're going to start to feel like you like doing this. That is why you're working hard, right? And just lots of good things will come of that. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk more about this, idea of what affects us and what drives us and the interactions between our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, but also our subconscious as well as our external environment. So I hope you come back tomorrow. Until then, have a great day and please like and subscribe. Bye bye.